Hello everybody and welcome to yet another another episode of The Week in Technology. My name is Karamjit and together with me is my co-host Aisha.
Hi.
Aisha, how are you doing?
Okay.
Aisha is actually fresh off the plane last night from Singapore. She was there for an IBM
fresh
event.
off.
So how would you say it then if it wasn't
I'm
fresh
a bit
off?
tired actually.
You're a bit tired? Come on, this Gen Y energy is over-exaggerated. As you can see here now, Singapore is like, billions of miles away, right? And of course she's tired from a 3-day trip there.
It was an intensive
staying
2 days.
at a 5-star, six-star hotel.
An intensive 2 days. And
2 days and okay, yeah. All right. Anyway, before we get sidetracked with that, we'll come to you and the Singapore trip. But as usual, we're going to start off with the week in what was the cover story for this coming week. And it's actually on 2 days that I visited the National Innovation Month, which kicked off on Monday, and kicked off with the PCOM Leadership Summit, Aisha. And then I was there, and I think you missed it, right? Were you there?
No, I wasn't there.
Okay. So our colleague Doreen was there too. So I attended the session on Monday and then the session on Tuesday too. And really this article is about Tuesday's session, which is where MIMOS had their MIMOS MTP, they call it, MIMOS Technology Preview. And it's an event they have every 6 months to update the industry about what they're working on, and how industry can partner with them then to further develop the technology, this what MIMOS calls its platform technologies, and take it to the market. I was quite impressed because I walked in the room in the afternoon for the afternoon session after the PC with the minister, and it was like there were 150 people sitting in the room, listening to the 3 of MIMOS presenters, talking about Symantec technology, talking about grid, and also there was another one talking about the new broadband scenario. And they were getting lots of good questions from the audience too, and some pretty technical questions too. So I knew the composition of the audience was pretty good. It was, hardcore techies. There were some guys from even MNCs who were coming and seeing, what MIMOS has to offer them. And also a lot of people from, entrepreneurs or not wannabe, but, those who inspire to be entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. So I was pretty impressed with the session, and even more so that Dato Wahab, MIMOS CEO, was sitting in the front row. And normally, and because Onkili was there, what I find normally is that when you have the CEO and you have a minister there, when the minister is about to leave, the CEOs, of these GLCs, government companies, just shadow the minister, following them around like obedient, poodles or whatever. But Wahab just did his job, sent the minister off. I think didn't walk him all the way down to his car, and then came back in and listened to his people, interacting with the audience. I was most impressed with that. A lot of times it's the small things that tell you, whether the CEO is genuine about pushing his change agenda and whether he's leading it from the front. So that was a small thing I picked up there from Wahab, but I think he scores highly in my books. So, but besides that, the story itself, although it says MIMOS spearheads the new IP policy. Now, what this IP policy is that Onkili said that 2 months ago, they launched a new IP policy, and which actually I think we missed. We didn't cover it in net value. But he said the crux of it is that they realized that the previous IP policy didn't help in getting more IP that generates economic wealth out into the market. So right now what they're doing is that for the first time the government has decided that if there's any research that comes out funded by government where there's an IP that's worth commercializing, it will go to industry first, and the government will not take a majority stake in it. And Onkili said this was a hard sell in the cabinet, but in the end they managed to persuade the cabinet that you don't want to own majority of this because it's the industry who are going to take it to that vital last mile, to get it into the hands of paying customers. So that was something that is quite significant, and I think in the near future we will write about this, the national IP policy, and cover it in depth as to what's so different about it now versus before.
Speaking of policy, the Prime Minister is launching the National Green Technology Policy today, I think at 3:30, right about now.
Okay.
Because we should, you'll be hearing something from us, I think.
On that too, yeah, of course, yeah. It's something that I think you're quite interested in, so I will...
Well, because, since the formation of the Ministry of Water, and Green
nothing much has come out on that.
No, actually not nothing much. We haven't heard, nothing has
come out.
Okay. So... It's interesting. It'll be interesting to see. And apparently, this new policy will make the consumers pay So
yeah.
for whatever
Okay.
waste that it is, so I don't know how they're going to do it.
I'm all
but
for
yeah,
that, man. That's
yeah,
great.
for whatever pollution that you make, you pay for the penalty for it.
Okay, great. I hope so. But besides that, just moving off from this policy, I mean, what the minister also said during the press conference was that MIMOS has right now 260 patents and has filed over 600 technology disclosures. And I was pretty impressed by that. But I was more impressed by the fact that the CEO Wahab says that MIMOS will judge its success not by the kind of IP it owns, but by how much of that gets translated by industry. To bridge the last mile and get it to people who will actually pay for the product. So that he's really raised the bar high for MIMOS to be judged how successful it is. But also during the press conference with the minister, I was saying that it's clear to me that MIMOS is leading the way out of all the 18 or 19 agencies that Onkili is in charge of in terms of coming up with new IP and fulfilling its mandate, as the premier research organization. Of course, not all the other agencies have a premier ICT, research organization mandate, but they have their various mandates. But you don't hardly hear much about them. So I asked Onkili if, at the end of the year, MIMOS was going to get the biggest chunk of the MOSTI budget, because they are delivering. And I was told, but then Onkili was very polite and he said all the agencies are doing well. Some may need to push it a bit more. But he's confident they will meet the target. So I don't know. But I'm already getting the wrap-up sign. I think we've got 2 minutes. So Aisha, you've got 22 seconds to tell the readers what was so hot about IBM in Singapore.
Well, actually,
I was just kidding. You got 2 minutes.
This is all part of the IBM Smarter Planet initiative. Smarter Planet initiative.
Smarter Planet.
Actually,
okay.
I believe that it's more of a marketing gimmick than actually any. Because I think.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to edit that out. Otherwise, they're not gonna send you to Saint Tropez, and I think that's where their next function is gonna be.
Wait,
I plan to go.
During an interview with
Just kidding.
one of the. I think vice president I can't remember, but it was someone high ranking,
Okay.
and somebody did actually ask the question, and he said that, and I think he's gotten that question before.
Okay, of course.
It's the same products,
Okay.
but a new message, So with IBM's loaders and all the products they currently have, they're coming out with a new message, how to make your system run smarter, how to make your business run smarter, how to make basically everything, the whole planet run smarter. But what they did have, what was new was their cloud computing strategy. And I think they've released their IBM Cloudburst platform.
Okay.
And it's still very new. And like I say, I think during one of the interviews that we did, the lue2, I think he's the one that's in charge of cloud computing. He did mention that cloud computing is as good as your bandwidth, which I think I've raised that issue also. So basically, cloud computing will not really take off in Malaysia if you can't fix the bandwidth. So, but then IBM Cloudburst also has a private cloud. So if you have a dedicated lease line, then that actually works.
Sure,
if you want to switch to cloud computing, then it would have to be a private cloud.
Private cloud.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there was actually one company, VNTT. It's a new company from Vietnam,
Okay.
and
Well done.
it's the first, I think, one of the first customers of IBM Cloudburst, and they are a service provider which provides everything on cloud.
Okay.
So they provide infrastructure on cloud, they provide software on cloud, and I think storage on cloud. So it's a pretty interesting. I think it's a pretty a radical move for a new company in Vietnam.
So you got to leapfrog. So it's not so
exactly.
radical.
So
after all.
it just amazes me how Vietnam has come out,
Okay.
from behind, and
Excellent. Yeah.
watch out, they have a population of about 100 million, or
100
80
over
million.
I used to think there was 60 million. It's actually 100
it's
over
actually
million.
80 million. So
Okay, 80 million. Okay.
80 million. Yeah. So yes, we better watch our backs.
Absolutely, yeah. Right. I mean, talking about the bandwidth at the conference also, there was a panel discussion, and Dato' Zam, the CEO of Telecom, was one of the panelists at the PICOM Leadership Summit. At the end of the presentation, each presenter got 10 minutes, and all the questions from the audience were centered towards Dato' Zam and Telecom and quality of service. So he's the man in the hot seat, that's for sure, and there's a lot of expectations on HSBB delivering the quality service, but at the right price, Dato', because if we don't hit that critical right price, then the take up is going to be really low, and Telecom's going to come in for going to take a lot of heat. But on that, I'm getting the heat from my crew here that we got to wrap up. So We wish you a great and productive week ahead with technology, and please keep the comments coming. Thanks a lot. Have a great week ahead.